CS1231 project. Presenting a mind-numbing story featuring a prince, a princess, and an insanely tough riddle. Once upon a time, there was a dashing young prince in search of a princess to marry. It was a vital task, for he could not be king without a queen. Even so, he was not going to settle for just any plain princess. The prince sought far and wide. Trawling through cities and countries, he could not find a princess that he liked. One day, during his journey, the prince was trekking up a mountain. Looking at his map, he thought, "I should be just about there." Looking up from his map and coming into his sights was a magnificent city. There sure is to be a princess here, thinks the prince, and off he heads into the city. As the prince roamed the city, he wondered to himself, "All the princesses I've met so far have given me an easy challenge to prove my worth. I wonder, what will the princess of this city want?" The prince was warmly welcomed into the palace, and the most beautiful princess he ever saw caught his sights. Unfortunately, her father, a stern king, said to him, "Many have sought the hand of my daughter, yet I will not give her to just any prince. You must prove yourself worthy. I have a task for you to complete. It is one that will measure your intellect. Many have tried, none have passed." The prince grins to himself. I'm sure this will be a piece of cake." Boy, was he wrong. And now the rules. The test is a very simple one. The prince will send the princess a letter containing a number, and the princess will reply in kind. The objective is to send a number to satisfy requirements set by the princess. The princess's return number will obey a set of rules. They are as follows. Rule 1. If the prince sends a number 1x2, the princess will reply with the number x. Rule 2. If the prince sends a number x and receives the number y, then sending 3x will return the repeat of y. On the other hand, if the prince sends 4x, then the princess replies with the reverse of y, which will subsequently be referred to as y prime. The numbers behave like sequential functions. This means that the function of each number is applied one at a time, from right to left. For example, for number 3414562, 14562 is applied first, followed by 4 and then 3. Rule 5. If sending a number x returns a number y, then sending 5x will return y with its first digit removed. Rule 6. Sending the number 6x on the other hand will return y with the number 1 added to the front. And the final rule. Sending the number 7x will return y with the number 2 added to the front. Now that all the rules have been explained, let's see if we can solve the princess's infamous tests. The princess has a total of 8 tests. Using the aforementioned rules, the prince must do the following. Send the princess a number and receive the same number. Send the princess a number and receive the repeat of the original number. Send the princess a number and receive the reverse of the original number. Send the princess a number and receive the original number but with the last digit removed. Send the princess a number and receive a different number. Sending this number must return the original number. Send the princess a number and receive a different number. Sending this number must return the reverse of the original number. Send the princess a number and receive a different number. Sending this number must return the original number but with the first and last digits swapped. And lastly, the prince must send the princess a number and receive a different number. Sending the reverse of this number will return a repeated number. Sending the princess the first half of this number should then return the original number. This last test is especially difficult. And the first test. Now, the first task is simple. Find numbers such that the princess will replay with the same number as the one sent to her. The strategy is solving all of these tests is to construct the number from the most basic valid input by slowly adding numbers to the front of the string until the output meets the requirement for the test. We will start with the most basic valid input, which is written in the form 1x2, where x is a number to be determined. In the case, the princess will reply with the number x. Then we will start adding numbers to the front of the input to change the output. Notice that the input will always be in the form n1x2, where n is the string of numbers containing all of the functions applied to the output. Since we are able to let x be any number we wish, we can let x equals n. So, the input and output will and can be written in the form x1, x2. Using this information, we have determined that our objective is to transform the basic output x into the output x1, x2. So, by adding numbers to the front sequentially, we are slowly able to construct the desired output. Eventually, we find that the number x must be 474536, and so the prince must send this number to the princess to pass the first test. The same method can be used to solve the next 3 tests as well. For test 2, the princess should reply with the repeat of the original number. So, we should expect the output to be in the form x1, x2, x1, x2. The number he should send is as follows. For test 3, he wants the princess to return the reverse of the number he sends to her. So, the output should be 2x prime, 1x prime. Therefore, this is the number he should send to the princess. Finally, for the 4th test, the princess should return the original number with the final digit removed. We should therefore expect the output to be in the form x1x. The solution for this test is 5361, 5362. The next few tests will require a little bit more thought, although the method of constructing the numbers will still be used. Without further ado, this is the 5th test. The prince must now send a number such that he receives a different number in return. Subsequently, sending this number should yield the original number. To solve this test, we will make use of the property described in Rule 1. Sending a number 1x2 should return the number x. So, sending 1x1, x22 should return the number x1, x2. To solve this test, we must therefore construct a number that returns an output of 1x1, x22. Since sending 1x1, x22 will return x1, x2 and vice versa, the solution can be in the form of either one. The 6th test. For the 6th test, the prince must send a number and receive a different number, just like in the previous test. However, sending this number to the princess should, instead, yield the reverse of the original number. We must first take a look at the input and the final output. The output is simply the reverse of the input, just like in the 3rd test. The difference here is the need for an intermediate step in the solution. In order to achieve this, we use Rule 1 in a manner similar to the previous test. Therefore, the intermediate step can be in this form. In order to solve the problem, we must therefore find a number that returns an output in the following form, thus giving us the following number as the solution. The 7th test. The 7th test is very similar to the 6th in terms of the method used. The prince must send a number to the princess and receive a different number. Sending this number should return the original number, but with the first and last digits swapped. In this case, we should consider the input to be in the form 1x1, x22 instead of the usual x1, x2. Since the first digit of x1, x2 is not immediately known to us, we will not be able to set up an objective for the output. Therefore, the input and final output are as follows. The intermediate step should be in the form x1, x2. Solving this test therefore requires us to find an intermediate which will return the following. The number in this case is as follows. However, we must not forget that the original number is in the form 1x1x22, and so the number should have an additional 1 in front and 2 at the back. And now, the final test. This test is as long as it is difficult. The prince must first send a number to the princess and return a different number. Let us call this number A. The princess should send back a different number that we will refer to as B. The prince will then send the reverse of B and then receive a repeated number CC. Sending the first half of CC should result in the princess sending the prince the original number A. Now, to solve this test, we must work backwards from the original input. We can let the input A be in the form x1, x2. We can therefore let C be in the form 1x1, x22. With the use of rule 1, CC should therefore be the repeat of this number. Using rule 1 yet again, we are able to guess the form of B prime, and therefore the form of B. A must therefore produce an output in the following form. The number the prince should send should therefore be. And so, having passed the king's test, the prince was permitted courtship with the princess. What a couple they be! The princess fell head over heels for the prince's massive brain, then moved back to the prince's kingdom and they lived happily ever after. And this ends the story of the prince, the princess, and a mind-numbing riddle.